Hello, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be talking about what you should bring with you if you're working as a background actor. In another video, I'm also going to talk about what you should and should not do on a film set, so make sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when that video comes out. So the first thing that I would recommend definitely bringing with you if you're going to a film set is you need to have your phone. I know people may say like they may not want you to have your phone or be on your phone, and that is all true, but you still need to have your phone with you so that you can communicate, or so that you can do whatever you need to do. Sometimes they will send you the paperwork basically after call time, and then you kind of need to fill that paperwork out while you're on set. If they take your phone, then you don't have to until after you wrap, but you want to make sure to have your phone. It also helps you keep track of time. So obviously, along with having a phone, you need to have your phone charger. Now, not all sets will have electricity, or not all sets will have electricity that is available to you. So make sure that you also have one of those external chargers, an external battery that you can have to plug into your phone, and all of the cables. That way you're not the person asking who has an iPhone or who has this type of phone or whatever, because most people are using their own and don't really want to share. Yeah. Also, you never know if who's going to be called. So like you may be sitting and holding and one person may be called and another person may be released. And people, I think, are always worried that someone who then gets wrapped ends up forgetting and leaving with their charger. So it's better just to have your own. Something I would also recommend is always to have a water bottle. If they tell you to bring a smaller bag, which I've only been on one set that did that, and it wasn't for a TV show or movie, it was for a special circumstance fake concert. I will say no more, at least not right now. But yeah, so because it was like a concert type setting, they didn't want us to have large bags, which meant that we can only have small bags, but I still brought a water bottle, and boy, am I glad I did, because they also did not have their water situation worked out. Welcome to the city of Los Angeles. They were trying to be green, so they had these like stations, but then the stations didn't have cups or some of them weren't working. Anyway, even if you can only bring the little mini water bottle, make sure to bring a water bottle with you. And if you're going to like a TV show or something, then having one of the big refillable ones is perfectly fine. They don't mind that. I would also recommend having some type of entertainment that does not relate at all to electricity. So that way, if your phone gets low in battery, or if you need to do something quietly, or if they take your phone, you have the ability to read a book, read a magazine, do a crossword, whatever can entertain you for hours on end. You can also do work or something like that. You can bring a laptop, but sometimes it's just sort of awkward to have a laptop. But yeah, there are multiple options. If you want to try and do work, it's really hard to call. On some shows, they will ask you to work most of the day, which, can be very fun. But if you plan to do work, then you may not be able to do that. And on other shows, you will sit in holding for maybe the entire day. I've worked on Grey's Anatomy a few times, and one time when I worked on Grey's Anatomy, I did sit in holding the whole time. Another thing that you should probably wear are a comfortable pair of shoes. Even if they ask you to bring heels, I would carry the heels and wear the comfortable shoes, because on some sets they will ask you to walk, which is kind of not a bad thing. Usually when you're walking, it's because you're parked where you're shooting, which means that you park your car and then you walk and you have access to your car. So it's kind of a good thing. In other cases, they don't ask you to walk that far, but they are busing you a really long way, and then you don't have access to your car. So be prepared for that, and you don't want to be like in heels. You just may end up walking a long way, and you also at lunchtime can take those heels off. Another thing that you definitely always want to have on you, especially if it is at any point in time when it could even remotely be a little bit cold, or if you were shooting in the desert, and I would recommend having a coat or a jacket. I cannot recommend this enough. Studios and things can be very cold. If you're shooting in the desert, the night will be very cold and probably kind of windy. So you just definitely want to have the ability to put something over you. I have been shivering on a set before. I had my coat, so like there wasn't really anything I could do about it, and the PA gave me his coat, which was very nice of him. But I would not recommend doing that. I just have like a very low tolerance for temperatures of any kind, really. And my costume was pretty light, and it was just unseasonably cold. So yeah, even though I had a coat, like obviously you have to take it off when you're filming, so I just could not keep my body temperature up. But it is good if you have a coat, maybe a scarf, something like that. I know it's hard. I'm adding a lot of things to the list, a lot of things, and you only have so much space, plus you have to bring the costumes they asked for. So I know it's tough, but honestly, after you do it a couple times, you'll start to get the hang of it, and yeah, it helps. It helps. Now, they will likely tell you to bring a range of outfits that meet the demands of whatever role you're playing, unless you have been pre-fit. But I would also recommend having maybe something like a change of clothes. Nothing too big or heavy, but it can be a good idea to have like an extra shirt and maybe a pair of jeans on you or something like that. I like to sometimes bring a dress, especially when the weather is good. That way it's not like a whole bunch of pieces. You're going to want a bag that's not terribly large, but large enough to fit everything that you would need in it. And I have 2 bags that I bring, but one's usually mostly empty, so I can stuff my purse into the other bag, and then I just have 1 bag. It is awkward to bring rolly bags, and I know this is difficult. If they ask you for a lot of pieces, then they have to expect that you might have a suitcase or something. But often on shows that I've been on, ironically, where they ask for a lot of changes of clothing or very fancy clothing that takes up a lot of space, they also put us on a transport bus, and then it's awkward if you have like your bag and you're trying to like get on this little bus, because like nobody's going to help you with your stuff. So just keep that in mind. Definitely always bring makeup with you. You're going to need to have like a little pouch that just has like whatever you would need for makeup. For ladies, it's generally, the foundation, concealer, eyeshadow, blush, eyeliner, things like that. Make sure to have that. You can also bring a brush or a hairbrush if you need to style it, and any pins. It depends on what it is. If you're playing a nurse, they're probably just going to pull back your hair, have you in regular everyday makeup. If you are going to a fancy ball, then things will get more complicated. But usually they will try and like do a little bit more to you to make you look a little bit more fancy for something like that. Another thing that I have seen but I have not brought myself are yoga mats and foldable chairs. Sometimes it can be difficult to find somewhere to sit. On central casting, they definitely make sure that everybody has somewhere to sit, even if it is just a folding chair. They're not that comfortable, but they do, I think, have to make sure that everybody has somewhere to sit, because they're usually like SAG shows. But it could be that like your bag's on the floor and everybody is like, they have exactly counted the number of chairs per people. So yeah, that can be kind of sad, but it's just one of those things. So if you think you can manage, or if it's not too big, you could bring something like that with you. Yeah, I've seen other people do it. Something that I like to have are also like hand sanitizer or sanitizing wipes. Like, you're going to eat during the day, and sometimes like the facilities aren't exactly what you would want, so you definitely want to have something like that on you. Regular things I would have, chapstick. Definitely bring a snack, because they might not always provide you with one immediately. Sometimes Crafty hasn't been set up because the PAs aren't ready. I don't know why I sound out of breath. I've been dancing and then I have a show tonight, so maybe that's why. But anyway, and then yeah, I would recommend eating before you leave, because yeah, your call time may be 8, but they don't have to feed you for 6 hours. And on a show that doesn't have a lot of money, they may not. Or they may have like snacks that you don't like, or snacks that you can't eat. If you have dietary restrictions, you are definitely supposed to provide that. The people who you're working for before you go to work, they can't really make changes like after. If you haven't provided them with that information, then when you check in that morning, you need to tell them you're an adult. Other people aren't responsible for you. I know that like people keep telling people that that's not the case, but really they just aren't, okay? Because you're an adult. It is a part of the job, like they have to provide you with food, but they, within reason, you know what I mean? Like they can give you some options. They'll give you vegetarian options, because usually there are quite a few vegetarians. They'll usually give you some gluten-free options. But if you have something that is like unique or different or whatever, then you just need to tell them ahead of time, or as soon as you possibly can, so they can have something ready for you so that you can eat. Background actors are also called extras. Usually they're called extras actually, but like sometimes people want to be respectful and call them background actors. You can call it whatever. Something else that I just think I'll mention in this video so that you're aware is that a lot of extras don't actually know the rules, the SAG rules. And some shows are like not that honest, sometimes they'll like cheat on them and stuff. So I understand why they don't, but just be aware that like after 6 hours from call time, if like from your call time, you should be fed. Now, if they gave you breakfast, then it's 6 hours from the end of when they count like the breakfast having been available. So if you get there and there's like this lovely breakfast laid out that you have access to and you're allowed to eat and they send you to go eat it, then that's because they're counting 6 hours from then. And yes, there are snacks and things available, but you are supposed to get like an official hot meal after 6 hours. Now on non-union sets, yes, it's supposed to be the same, but you may not actually get paid a meal penalty if they're a little late serving you, and various other things that I can get into in a different video, because non-union is non-union, and so it really just depends on the size of the production, the producer, and the size of the production, I guess. It depends on a lot of things, and like the person and just how they like to do things. So yeah, the rules are definitely not as strict for that. But do let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to answer them as best that I can. If you like this video, thank you for watching so much, and also make sure to subscribe. I would love to do live streams, and if I get more subscribers, then I can do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon.